Look closely at your screen right now. That dark rectangle showing your own video preview. Are you certain it's only reflecting you? Sometimes a subtle flicker, perhaps a persistent static pixelation lurking in the corner, hints at something more within that digital void. It might contain far more than you realize, especially when you find yourself alone. In this video, I delve into unsettling evidence meticulously compiled from cybersecurity professionals across the globe. They have documented strange, unexplainable phenomena occurring specifically within the negative spaces inherent in our video calls. These occurrences aren't merely random. Reports strongly suggest they intensify the longer individuals remain physically isolated. Consider an apartment where silence is filled with the low, constant hum of electronics. It's clean, almost sterile, a space where technology is woven into the fabric of daily life. Perhaps a refuge Sarah Miller built against a world she found too unpredictable. She's a cybersecurity analyst who spends her days, and increasingly her nights, immersed in the digital realm from this high-tech, minimalist living space. Her work, her social interactions, even managing her environment, it all happens through glowing screens and voice commands. It's a life lived at a slight remove, mediated by interfaces, a controlled environment designed for efficiency and connection, yet it feels increasingly contained, the outside world reduced to pixels and data streams, like the first hairline crack in a flawless mirror. The initial sign that something is amiss is small. On her primary monitor, a tiny cluster of pixels near the upper right corner begins to act erratically. It's a shifting, flickering patch, sometimes intensely bright, sometimes cycling through random colors, a tiny vortex of digital noise. This glitch persists regardless of what's on the screen, during video calls, when displaying documents, even against a plain background. It's a constant, tiny disturbance in her otherwise pristine digital view. Sarah initially dismisses it as a faulty cable or a minor graphics driver issue she hasn't addressed. Her apartment operates on a sophisticated smart home system. Lights adjust automatically, the thermostat maintains a precise climate, and doors lock on schedule. Everything is interconnected, usually functioning smoothly. She relies on this seamless automation. But then, other small inconsistencies begin. The smart lights in her hallway sometimes flicker, a brief stutter, often coinciding with moments the network monitor shows unexpected, brief bursts of outbound data traffic. These spikes aren't related to her work or streaming. They appear random, unprompted, the flickering lights seeming almost timed to them, a subtle, unsettling synchronization. Then come the sounds. Faint static occasionally emanates from the smart speakers, even when inactive. Sometimes within this static, she thinks she hears something more, brief, fragmented whispers, distorted and unintelligible, like snippets of electronic voice phenomena. They vanish quickly, leaving only the ambient hum. She dismisses it as interference, or perhaps auditory pareidolia, brought on by fatigue and the profound lack of face-to-face human interaction. Sarah, trained in logic, tries to rationalize these occurrences. The pixel cluster, a hardware flaw, the flickering lights, network congestion, or a power fluctuation. The sounds, simple radio frequency interference, or her own mind filling the silence enforced by her isolation. She runs diagnostics, checks logs, monitors traffic, updates firmware. The results are always clean. No breaches, no failures, no conflicts. The system reports itself as healthy, making the lack of a clear explanation more unnerving than finding an actual virus would be. Yet the anomalies don't disappear. They subtly increase in frequency and intensity. The pixel cluster seems slightly larger some days. The light flickers become more pronounced. The static bursts happen more often, the indistinct whispers sometimes feeling closer before dissolving. It feels less like random glitches and more like the technological ecosystem itself is becoming unstable, perhaps responding to something unseen. The seamless digital environment she curated for control is starting to feel unpredictable, subtly hostile. As Sarah continues to search for logical explanations, the phenomena begin to shift, manifesting more directly within the interfaces she uses to connect with the outside world. What if the empty space behind you on a video call wasn't merely a privacy feature, but a potential opening? The focus of the anomalies now shifts directly onto Sarah's lifelines to the outside world, her video calls. She starts noticing subtle inconsistencies, including the persistent pixel cluster on her monitor, appearing within the video feeds themselves. It's particularly noticeable in the areas designed to be inconspicuous, the blurred backgrounds behind colleagues or the pristine synthetic virtual office she sometimes uses. These algorithmically generated negative spaces seem less stable, flickering or momentarily showing textures that don't belong. The tension mounts when she observes reflections where none should be. A powered-off tablet screen beside her monitor occasionally catches a glint of movement, reflecting distorted room geometry not present in her apartment. When her main screen displays a dark interface, she sometimes sees fleeting, twisted images superimposed over her own faint reflection, unfamiliar shapes vanishing before she can register details. These aren't simple screen artifacts. They feel like brief intrusions into her controlled digital workspace, playing tricks on her perception in the low light. The smart lights in her room sometimes flicker erratically, seemingly in sync with moments of high network activity during these calls, adding a physical dimension to the digital unease. Auditory disturbances also become more distinct. Short bursts of distorted voices now cut through the silence, sometimes sounding like heavily processed recordings. Other times, chillingly, they seem to mimic parts of her own recent conversations through her smart speaker, twisting her words back at her in mangled snippets. It's as if the system is recording, processing, and replaying corrupted fragments of her life, blurring the line between malfunction and something invasive. Sarah suspects a link between these phenomena and the tools meant to improve her remote presence: background filters and virtual environments. These features rely on complex algorithms analyzing the video feed, separating foreground from background using semantic segmentation, AI deciding what's her and what's not her. Could this constant digital manipulation, this generation of artificial space, inadvertently create vulnerabilities? The processing happens locally, consuming significant resources, potentially opening unforeseen pathways. Driven by her analytical training, Sarah researches obscure cybersecurity forums and technical mailing lists. She finds scattered anecdotes from other remote workers describing strange visual artifacts, inexplicable audio intrusions, and feelings of being watched. Some posts speculate about undocumented vulnerabilities in the image processing pipelines of specific video conferencing platforms, mentioning theoretical exploits targeting real-time video rendering, concepts unsettlingly similar to her experiences. No concrete proof, just fragments reinforcing her fear. The visual strangeness escalates. During a call, the blurred background behind a colleague momentarily sharpens, resolving for a fraction of a second into something unrecognizable, a texture like shifting static, before the blur snaps back. It happens in her own virtual background, a patch of the synthetic office wall glitching to reveal a fleeting, indistinct shape moving behind it. These feel reactive, almost observational. Her paranoia intensifies. Is her apartment haunted by digital ghosts born from software and isolation? Or is the prolonged lack of real-world interaction fracturing her mind? It's harder to trust her senses when everything is filtered through technology. Her investigation points towards the background processing itself. Real-time blurring demands intense computation, Researchers note such complex image manipulation could theoretically be interfered with. Buffer overflows or targeted attacks might allow malicious code execution or create unforeseen glitches in the generated digital space. These algorithms construct temporary digital dimensions behind the user. Flaws could turn these blurred backgrounds into unstable spaces, where data could be corrupted or signals might cross unpredictably. The anomalies converge, focusing more frequently on the empty space directly behind her digital self, suggesting a crude intelligence probing the boundary from the other side of the pixels. The apartment appears quiet now, almost normal under the low ambient light. But on Sarah's main monitor, a persistent cluster of glitching pixels remains active, like digital static refusing to clear. It pulses erratically, a patch of instability against the dark screen. Then, almost imperceptibly, the random noise coalesces. The shifting colors briefly form the faint, dark outline of a silhouette, barely recognizable but there, before the screen snaps black. As studies note, digital technologies are fundamentally reshaping human interactions, blurring boundaries. When technology constantly generates and manipulates such voids, what might eventually seep through